I mean, Max is a perfect son-in-law for, I think, every mother. But once he's in the car, he's a different person. And he doesn't have any compromise. He goes for it, look, like he did Imola, this maneuver, and also his overtaking. He's watching the guy and poof.
More ones, then also I stop racing and then we all together.
Helmut Marko has spoken ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix, expressing confidence that Red Bull can challenge for victory at their home race. The team is introducing a major upgrade package aimed at reducing the performance gap to McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari. Marko believes that if the new upgrades perform as expected, Max Verstappen will be firmly back in contention for the win at the Red Bull Ring. Austrian Grand Prix, the upgrades, the politics, the predictions, and what this weekend could mean for the rest of the 2026 Formula One season. Let's get into it. To understand why this weekend matters so much, you have to look at where Red Bull actually stands right now. After 7 races under the sport's new 2026 regulations, the former world champions are sitting 4th in the Constructors' Championship with just 89 points, their lowest total at this stage of a season since 2015. Max Verstappen is 7th in the drivers' standings, and the team that once dominated Formula One for years is currently battling just to stay relevant in the championship fight. Team principal Laurent Mekies described the last race in Barcelona as a reality check, while Verstappen qualified within 0.3 seconds of pole on a single lap, a promising sign. The 66-lap race distance exposed the RB22's real weaknesses. On circuits that demand aerodynamic performance and high-speed cornering, Red Bull simply do not have the pace of their rivals. The gap to the top is not enormous, but in a field where Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren are separated by hundredths of a second, every deficit counts. So what has been holding Red Bull back? The answer is surprisingly straightforward: weight. When the 2026 regulations were introduced, the minimum weight limit was dropped to 768 kilograms. While teams were simultaneously required to carry larger batteries to meet new electrical power demands. That combination created a brutal engineering challenge across the entire paddock. For Red Bull, the RB22 started the season a staggering 12 kilograms over the minimum weight limit. In Formula One, engineers calculate that every 10 kilograms of excess mass costs approximately 0.3 of a second per lap. That means at the start of the year, Red Bull were surrendering nearly 0.4 of a second before the car had even turned a competitive wheel. They cut that figure roughly in half with an upgrade package in Miami, bringing the excess weight down to around 6 kilograms. But 6 kilograms is still the equivalent of carrying a bowling ball in the cockpit during a qualifying lap, and in this field, that is not acceptable. That is exactly what this weekend is designed to fix. Red Bull are bringing what is widely being described as their most significant upgrade package of the 2026 season to the Austrian Grand Prix, their home race on the circuit they own. The headline of the package is a second evolution of the car's underbody. The floor is the most aerodynamically critical component on a modern Formula One car, generating the majority of downforce. But it is also one of the heaviest single parts on the car. By redesigning the internal structure using advanced, thinner composite materials, Red Bull are targeting meaningful weight savings right at the car's lowest point. The new floor also features anti-porpoising characteristics, which should reduce the bouncing issues that have affected the new generation of cars. Alongside the floor, Red Bull are introducing a further refined side pod design. Earlier in the season, the team moved away from an extreme zero-pod concept toward a more conventional shape to improve cooling. The Austria iteration takes that further, reducing the overall volume of the bodywork to save weight while reshaping the undercut to channel higher energy airflow toward the rear diffuser. The team are also bringing a heavily revised rear wing. Paddock sources have described it as an evolution of the Macarena wing concept, first pioneered by Ferrari, which dramatically reduces aerodynamic drag on the straights while maintaining cornering stability. Revised brake ducts and lower suspension arms complete the package, ensuring that airflow from the front wing reaches the floor as cleanly as possible. The combined goal of all these changes is simple: get the RB22 down to the minimum weight limit for the very first time this season. The mathematical lap time gain from shedding those final 6 kilograms is significant on its own, but the benefits go much deeper than the raw numbers. A lighter car rotates more naturally through high-speed corners, something Verstappen has complained about repeatedly this season. It also gives the engineers genuine freedom in terms of ballast placement, unlocking setup options that were simply not available before. Perhaps most importantly for race performance, a lighter car is considerably kinder to its tyres. Red Bull have struggled with tyre degradation throughout 2026, particularly when compared to Ferrari, who appear to be able to make their rubber last almost indefinitely. Getting the weight down will reduce sliding and thermal stress on the Pirelli compounds, allowing Verstappen to push harder for longer without destroying his tyres. There is also an energy management dimension. The 2026 cars rely heavily on electrical power, and a lighter car simply requires less energy to accelerate. That means the hybrid system can be deployed more efficiently across an entire lap, which is crucial given how carefully Red Bull's Honda Ford power unit needs to be managed at race distance. Helmut Marko, the former Red Bull advisor who retired at the end of the 2025 season, has weighed in on the weekend's prospects ahead of the race. Speaking to Austrian outlet Kleine Zeitung, Marko pointed to Mercedes as the outright favourites, but highlighted that the Silver Arrows have already suffered 2 engine failures this season, an unusually high number for a team that has historically been one of the most reliable on the grid. Marko was notably optimistic about the impact of Red Bull's upgrade. He pointed out that at this early stage of a new regulatory era, upgrades can deliver significant gains, as much as half a second in a single step, and with the RB22 set to race at the minimum weight limit for the first time, he believes Verstappen will genuinely be in the hunt. "I hope Max can then be up front," Marko said. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella offered a different perspective, tipping Ferrari to continue as the strongest car in the corners. Stella noted that the Red Bull rings demand stability, braking, and fast directional changes suit Ferrari's characteristics, while Mercedes remains arguably the strongest package over a single qualifying lap when both chassis and power unit performance are considered together. Mekies himself has been measured in his expectations. He acknowledged that the Austria package alone is unlikely to fully close the gap to Mercedes and Ferrari, but described the goal as continuing a trajectory of improvement that has been building since Japan. Red Bull are no longer talking about a 4/10 deficit. He suggested it is something considerably smaller. None of this exists in a vacuum. The upgrade carries a political weight that arguably matches its technical significance. Reports from multiple sources have confirmed that Verstappen has performance-related exit clauses in his contract, and with the Dutchman currently 7th in the standings, those clauses are very much active. Mercedes just put a contract on the table for the greatest driver on the grid, and it was reportedly so insulting, his team threw it back before the ink was dry. Red Bull held a secret emergency meeting behind closed doors in Salzburg. No cameras, no press, just the people who run the sport in private. And right now, as you're watching this, Max Verstappen's entire future in Formula One is hanging in the balance. We are not talking about a minor transfer rumour. We are talking about the deal that could reshape the entire grid for years. This is everything you need to know. Formula One, the way it actually is, not the PR version, not the press release version, the real version. Max Verstappen's 2027 contract situation. Mercedes made an official offer. It was rejected. Red Bull held secret talks. And despite everything, the car failures, the exodus of talent, the political chaos, current reports suggest Max is staying at Red Bull for 2027. But here's the thing, nothing is signed, nothing is sealed, and the decisions being made right now will define the next chapter of this sport. Let's get into it. Let's start with the Mercedes offer, because this is where the story gets wild. For months, the paddock has been buzzing about a potential Verstappen move to Mercedes. Toto Wolff has made no secret of his desire to sign Max. Famously, he's called missing out on Verstappen in 2015 one of the biggest mistakes of his career. So when the offer finally came, everyone expected something massive. Instead, the number was reportedly so far below expectations that Verstappen's manager Raymond Vermeulen dismissed it almost immediately. Here's the context you need. Back in August 2025, Wolff reportedly told Vermeulen that if Mercedes had the best car heading into 2026, he'd only be willing to pay Max around 10% of his current $100 million annual salary. That's roughly $10 million. For the reigning world champion, for the man who has dominated the sport for 4 consecutive years. When Vermeulen reportedly called Wolff out on the figure, the exchange that followed was blunt. Wolff called him a greedy Dutchman. Vermeulen fired back, calling Wolff a cheap Austrian. Not exactly the language of a negotiation heading in a positive direction. But Toto's logic, however cold, is calculated. By 2027, Mercedes believes they could have the dominant power unit and chassis again under the new engine regulations. His argument is essentially this: if you want to win, you come to us on our terms. The trophies are the prize, not the paycheck. There's also an internal factor. Andrea Kimi Antonelli has been performing at a seriously high level. Bringing in an expensive Verstappen alongside him risks recreating the Rosberg-Hamilton dynamic that tore the Mercedes team apart from the inside. Wolff has seen that movie before. He doesn't want to watch it again. So was this offer a genuine attempt to sign Verstappen, or was it a power play, a calculated move designed to test Max's desperation? The answer may tell us everything about where this situation goes next. To understand why Verstappen was even looking at the exit door, you have to understand what is happening inside Red Bull right now, and it is not pretty. The RB21 has been a car full of problems. Brake issues, inconsistency on curbs, a general unpredictability that has left Verstappen operating far below his own standards. For a man who spent years making a dominant car look even more dominant, driving a mid-pack machine is an existential crisis. At points this season, Max has looked like a P7 driver not because of his talent, but because of what's underneath him. But the machinery is only half the problem.